Okay, so let us discuss about all the type of MAC protocols in details. First one is clustering based MAC protocol. The researchers are working on the clustering based MAC protocols for about a decade now. Okay, there are lots of clustering based MAC protocols related to VANET has been proposed. However, there may be still some scope left in this area. Okay, so what type of research you can do in clustering based MAC protocols? First thing is, you should know what clustering is and how it works. Clustering is basically, there are some vehicles which are arranged in groups according to some parameters, like you can see the range, the region. Suppose all the vehicles of this region may be in a single cluster, okay, and all the vehicles of this region may be in another cluster, okay, and during transmission there are two types of communication in it: inter-cluster communication and intra-cluster communication. So what is inter-cluster communication? Inter-cluster communication is when two clusters communicate with each other. Intra-cluster communication means when the communication takes place inside the cluster only. Okay. So now, one more thing, there is always a cluster head in a cluster. There are some mechanism that does not select a cluster head, but I will advise you to do that. You should always select cluster head, because it is well known that the protocols with cluster head performs better than the without cluster heads. Okay, so suppose this is a cluster. Okay, you cannot see my cursor, I think, so no problem in that. Okay, so suppose these 5 vehicles, and you can see 2 groups of 5 vehicles, you can assume any group. Okay, so the middle vehicle in both the groups are cluster head of that particular cluster. Okay. So what happens in clustering? All the vehicles in a cluster operates on the same channel. Okay, that is the rule of clustering. Only the cluster head can operate on more than one channel. Why? Because the cluster has the responsibility to transmit data to other cluster head also. Okay. So if this vehicle, the red vehicle in the first cluster, has some data to transmit, it is transmitting it to its cluster head, that is of grey color. Okay. Now that cluster head transmits data to the neighboring cluster head, the vehicle besides the trees, the blue one, and that vehicle further transmits data to all the cluster members, its cluster members. That is how the communication takes place.